we had gone to the hospital, and the nurse came to me and said, "Hey, there's a group of guys out here, your son's friends."
Because
And
Will didn't pass away right away. He was in the hospital for a little bit.
He was an organ donor, so
they had to, yeah.
he had chosen to be an organ donor, and he was still alive when he had not, his heart had not stopped. So he was taken to the hospital. They came to us immediately, so he was put on life support so that they can measure and do all that they have to do for. So he was, and so word got out that Will had, I don't know what word got out, but he had shot himself. I'm sure, I don't know if that's what got out, but everybody knew Will was gone to the hospital. And so there was a room full of boys there that night. And the nurse came to get me, and she said, they're in the waiting room. And I, my mind was 1,000 places. And so I thought, well, and I walked in and I looked at these beautiful boys that, I'd known over the years, and they were in tears, and they couldn't even, hold their heads up, and they were crying. And I said, boys, I need to tell you, Will did not make the right decision today. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what prompted this, but Will did not make the right decision. Will has turned whatever issue was going on into something that will never end now. He may not deal with it, but we will. And what I need you to know is that you don't have problems that can't be solved. You have problems, and I'll be respectful of the fact that you have difficulties. But you don't have problems that can't be solved. But they can't necessarily be solved by only going to your friends. Your friends don't have any more experience, any more time, any more money, or any more resources than you have. But adults do. So if you don't have a trusted adult that you can go to, it doesn't have to be your parent, because many times they can't go to parents. But if you don't have somebody you can go to when you need it, then you come to our house. We're not going to hide things from your parents, but we will go with you to your parents to take care of this, because I can promise you we do have more experience. You don't think we've experienced anything like you're going through, but some of it we have. We do have more time, we have more money, and we have more resources to get you the help that you need. And I said, I love each and every one of you, and Will loved you, and the last thing Will would have ever done is cause you pain. You all meant everything to him. Will was not able to see beyond whatever took him down this road. But I want you to know, this is not a road you need to travel, ever. And I don't know, something just kind of bonded that day. And several of the boys have come back to me and said, telling me that my problems can be solved meant a lot to me. And so I don't know. I know it looks dark sometimes, and some people never go down the road of feeling like it's too much. But a lot of people do. But if you know before you go down that road, hey, I don't have to wait till it gets dark. The sun's going down and I'm feeling like things are getting dark, but you don't have to wait till you're in the midst of the dark of night to speak to somebody. And so I told him it's about relationships. It's about checking on each other. It's about, coming to somebody when you think, telling an adult when you think there's a problem, reaching out. And so Will's group of friends have become a part of our family. It started with a few boys wanted to speak at Will's service. And so they came over and we talked about, put your ideas down on paper, 3 to 5 minutes. Don't expect to remember everything when you're standing in front of people. But those boys came over that night and we talked. And then kids just start dropping by your house. The doorbell rings and it's a couple of kids. Hey, we just wanted to come by. Or you get a text. Would it be all right if I came by to talk to you? And Mark, I'd just like to be in Will's room. Can I see some of his pictures? So after a few months of this, we started thinking, well, these boys just keep kind of dropping by. Maybe we should have them over for dinner before school starts. This Will had died in April. It was ready for school to start. So I sent out texts to the boys that I had texted me and said, hey, do you think, y'all would like to come over and have pizza to kick off your junior year? And it was like, ding, 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 ding. Now, 16-year-old boys don't answer back if they don't want to. They can let it sit for, 3 hours or 3 days, 3 weeks. But I mean, it was like, yeah, sure, we'd love to. Yeah. And it just sort of turned into an informal bonding group. And so they come over, and Will may come up in conversation. It's not about we all sit around and talk about Will. I mean, Will is who brought us all together. But that just kind of changed things. There was some food to eat, so they laughed and talked, and they cut up with each other, and they went off to their junior year. And I thought, well, this is it. We've gotten them back in school. But then 2 weeks into school, a couple came by, and then in October, September, some invited us to something that they were doing, a concert, and then just like every 2 to 4 weeks, we'd have a group of boys. So finally I said, y'all, Christmas is coming up, and I'm kind of seeing a pattern of visiting with you all every so often. What if we just plan to get together and do something for Christmas? And they were like, yeah, what day? And so it just has changed in reaching out to them, because I needed them to know. And the first few times we got together, I said, guys, I need you to know this is not a choice you can ever make. I would preach and beat the drum, and finally got to the point that they could just come in and they hug us when they come in the door, and we tell them we love them, and they say they're happy to have an extra set of parents, and I tell them, no, we're not your parents, because we're just the fun ones. We're just always happy to see you. We don't care if you got your homework done, or I just tease them, but we love on them, and they love on us. So we went on through, and it got to the 1 year mark, and we'd seen them and heard from them. And one thing I did was take out a bunch of Will shirts and let them pick a shirt that they liked. I told them I was making a quilt, memory quilt. But I said, you saw him in his clothes more than I did, because he was always in his track clothes by the time I saw him in the afternoon. And so they picked out their favorite shirt, but instead of making a quilt, I actually made pillow covers for them, and I called them their willows, And so I gave all the boys their shirt that they picked out, and as a willow. And I think some of the moms have said to me, it was the first time my son ever made up his bed in his life, because he had to put his willow on his bed. Or, some of the boys have said, oh, I sleep with it every night. That pillow means something to me. So it was a way to support these boys through, I'd never lost a child to suicide, but at 16, I never lost a best friend to suicide either, and I didn't know how that must feel. So if they called or texted, the door was open. And it turned into, while I thought I was helping them, when the 1 year day came, the anniversary of Will's death, these boys parked a block or two from my house. They all wore something pink, because that was Will's favorite color. They all brought flowers, pink flowers of different kinds. They rang the doorbell, and they were all on my front porch. And I had thought earlier in the day, I wonder if I should have reached out to them, but if they could get through the day without thinking about it, I didn't want to remind them of that. And then there they all were. And it was the hardest day I've ever lived through in my life, was that 1 year day. But when those boys came, and there were some sad moments that visit. We talked, we cried, we hugged, we laughed. But I realized, I said, guys, I thought I was helping you. And what I realized tonight is that you all have carried us through one of the roughest years of our lives. Just by your presence, I feel closest to Will when you're around. And they said, and we feel close to Will when we're at your house. So it's turned into, I don't know, an opportunity to still spend time with these guys that we love with all our heart. They've become part of our family, and to support them through a very rough time. And I thought that would be it. And then there were more losses. So I just think that's an important thing. And if you find yourself in this situation, you'll be amazed where the support comes from. It's not always exactly what you think it would be. My first Mother's Day, Evan came to my house and brought me a Mother's Day card and flowers. I mean, these boys, they've suffered, and yet For any reaching out I've done, they've reached out tenfold. And so I think we underestimate sometimes what the friends of these kids go through. And Will was the second student at Farragut to die. But at this point, there have been 6 students at Farragut that have died. And each one of those losses hits those children, sometimes very hard, but it's all a part of their family.